crafters, welcome back. Hey, we're going to get started on a couple other items this evening, and this is the front of our book, the spine, and also the back of the book. So what I would like to do next is to get started on our hinge. So what I did with my hinge is I made it ahead of time, but I didn't finish everything off on it. I like to do something a little bit different than some crafters do with their spine. And again, like I said, I like to try a lot of different things to find out what works best for me. So as you can see, my spine is, well, the paper is 12.5 inches long. And what I like to do is to add 1/4 of an inch to be able to give this flap a little bit more, or this hinge a little bit more bend to it than just this one hinge. It's something I just did on this book to begin with, and I'm going to see how it goes, see how flexible things are. Otherwise, I've done it in the past with 1/2 inch. I've also done it without. I've also done singular flaps or hinges where it's just, it would be something just like this for the base, and this would be the hinge and that I attach the page onto. So what I'm going to do with this today is, again, this is 12.5 inches, and the one that I did on the other book was 9 inches tall because my pages are 9.5. I am going to try this time doing an 8.5 inch spine because I had difficulty with this last one because I like to put my paper over my spine, and I found that I didn't have enough room on the end of my spine at the end here. So what you're going to do is cut your paper and then put this into your scoreboard. And what I start out with is I score on 1/2 inch, then I will go to 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. And you can see where I write the X, that's my gutter in between my pages. And then you just repeat, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2, 1/2, 1/4, the gutter, 1/4, 1/2, 1/2, 1/4, the gutter, 1/4, 1/2, 1/2, 1/4, the gutter or gusset, 1/4, 1/2, 1/2, 1/4. Then we have the gusset in here, 1/4, 1/2, 1/2, 1/4, and 1/2 again. So, and then what I do is I start out by forming what I kind of call my hills. These are my hills and valleys. So I get my those top 1/2 inch pieces together, and then I go back and start bending at the 1/4 inch, and I bend them back and forth so that I loosen them up quite a bit. And then in putting them together, you can see I added an extra piece of score tape. I think I'm good at adding extra pieces of score tape everywhere. But what we're going to do then is bind this together. We're going to use score tape, and I'm also going to use art glitter glue as well. So let's get started on that. And there's no right or wrong way as far as what end you want to start with. Whatever you're happy with works for you. And once we've got this together, then what I want to show you is, and I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera because it's a little bit futzy, but what it is, like I said, I like to put my cardstock over my hinges. And it's worked on a couple projects for me, and this last one I wasn't as happy with it as I have been in the past. So I thought I would give myself a little bit more room with the pattern paper at the end. Let's just do this. And then I'm gluing everything together. I'm gluing the 1/2 inch as well as that 1/4 inch is gluing onto itself, so that what ends up happening is that you can see where your hinges all come together here. And we have extra bend in here from our 1/4 inch to give us just a little bit more bend in our hinges. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a fail-safe method. Again, I like to try different things. So try it out, see if it works for you. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well, then let's try something else. I just like to try different things until I land on what I find is the best hinge system or mini album system, or however I think it works best. So this is what I'm going to do today. All right. And as you can see, there is, I'm going to have to put, and if you see that this is not sticking enough, then go ahead and add some more glue in there. I hope this is not too dark tonight. I'm doing this in the evening. I like to record in the daytime usually, but I don't have much of that right now with working from home. So I know you would think because I'm working home I have more time, but I actually end up having less time to do things like this. Sometimes it's because I get so involved in what I'm doing. Come on. Last night, I get done normally around 5 or between 5:30, 6, somewhere in there, and I ended up working last night till like 9 o'clock because I just wanted to get something done. I had started it, and I just wanted to get it done. All right. Once the hinges come together, everything seems to fit together so much better. This one seems to be wants to give me a little bit of a headache. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple clothespins . Oh, there we go. So don't get rid of those wooden clothespins. They work well in your craft room. I love using them when I'm making boxes or just needing to hold something in place. Even when I'm doing a mini album, if I need to hold on to a page or I need something to sit away from what I'm working on, I can then use the clothespins to keep them away. Might be a good idea if I don't sit right on my mini album. I have a tendency to do that. All right, and then we've got our last one. All right. A lot of times when I've done this hinge system too, and this is going to be something different again that I'm doing, I usually put about 2 inches on the end of my hinges so that it flaps over into the base. But I've seen some other crafters doing a smaller hinge system like this, so with not such big overlap. So I decided I was going to try that myself and see how that all ended up working. So, all right. So that's our hinge system put together. We're going to end up putting some tape or glue on the back. But before I do that, what I would like to do is to get working on our paper for what we're going to be putting over the top of this. So I'm going to take the green pattern paper that is in the pattern collection, and we're going to cut that out to fit over our spine and to extend just a little bit further into this area right here so that it's going to match up with our back panel. And it won't be too heavy into the spine here. I think we'll still get good enough movement in there. But you can see my spine, the hinges going onto the spine is a lot smaller than what you typically would see. It's not going to matter really for the pages, I don't believe. I guess I should say I've not done it before, but this is what we're going to end up doing, and we're going to put our pattern paper right over these hinges. So again, I'm not going to do that on camera because it is a little bit futzy and I don't want to make mistakes when I'm doing it, but I will show you it when I come back. So we're actually going to cut that paper to 9 7/8 lengthwise, and then I'm going to cover it to at least here. So I would say 9 7/8 by 6 inches. That's the width that I'm going to make that. And then I'll show you what I did when I come back, and we can work on the rest of that together. Alrighty, see you in a little bit. Thanks. So what I've done so far is I've taken my green paper that is the cut aparts on the back, and don't worry, you have 2 other pieces of this paper that you can do the cut aparts with, but I did this 9 7/8 and 6 inches. And this is the only time that I do this. I add Tyvek, and I just take one of the white envelopes and cut it apart, and I'm actually going to glue it on the back of here, because the reason why I do that is I'm actually going to make cuts down on this paper that this will then fit over the hinges in the mini album. So I wanted to show you what I was going to do so far. So this is going to fit in the mini album when we're done with the hinges on there, and it'll go over. The white won't show, but it'll go to the top and to the side. And then on this side, we're going to start off by putting that paper, matching it up with that. And on the other side, we have a back pocket here. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the cutting, and when I'm done with the cutting, I will come back and show you, because it's a little tedious because I have to match this. I need to match this up, the lines and where I'm going to cut, and I need to cut them just about, you know, a little bit thicker than a solid line, so that there's a little bit of room, and then we'll glue it down in between on this hinge. So I will be back and show you what the outcome of all of that is. See you in a little bit. All right, so I have my paper cut, and as you can see, it's not perfect, but it will work. So what I'm doing right now is putting on in the middle of my hinges here my art glitter glue, and we will get that down, and then we will get this the rest of this attached. So it does take a little bit of finagling to get it on, but I find that once I have the majority of it on the spines, or the hinges, I guess I should say, that I have pretty good luck with getting the rest of it on okay. And I'm not tapering the edges of these this time because of the hinges, because they're a shorter hinge to begin with, so I am going to leave them squared off. And it's not like I need to have them any shorter for that part of my album. So we'll get this on, get this glued down real good. I'm going to let this sit for a little bit too. I've only done this a couple of times, and the last time I did it, it didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to. It didn't turn out awful, but it also wasn't exactly what I wanted either. So I tried a little bit of, the thing that I did differently this time was I left more paper at either end. And that's kind of what I didn't like about it the last time, was that felt like it was too close to the ends of the paper, and I was a little bit afraid that it was going to end up ripping, and I didn't want it to do that. And I know this is sticking up a little bit right now, but it won't once we get it all down onto our hinges. So the only thing left to do really is I'm going to distress the ends of this, not the sides, because those are actually going to be under another pattern paper, so I'm not concerned about that. But I'm going to go ahead and lay my hinge down. So we have our hinge connection will go right into here. So I am going to put art glitter glue on the back of this, and also I'm going to make use of the tape that I have down here. The mistakes that I made by putting the tape down, but we'll make use of that. And even my little mistake here, I'm going to make use of that tape as well. All right, so let's get a generous serving of art glitter glue on the back of this. I do have to apologize if I'm out of frame. I don't mean to be, and I'll continue to work on being better at that, but I just have to keep reminding myself where I need to be on screen. So I apologize. If there's something at any point that you miss and you want me to re-show something, I can do that as well, because if I'm out of frame. Okay, I think we have enough on there. Oops. Got a runaway poker tool there. And I'm not going to bend this right away because I want some time for the glue to dry before I actually get in there and start bending away at the sides of the book. got a little bit of a piece up here. And I'm trying to get this so that when I put my larger papers down on the back covers that they're going to match up with the edges of this as well. Sometimes it just goes perfect and other times, well, it's not perfect. It's a handmade craft, so. And if you have to, go back in and put some more of the glue in. And again, sometimes it just needs some help with the drying. So, and once it's dried, it'll stay very nicely. It's just, sometimes it's getting from that one spot to the next. So we're going to check this side. Get some couple more clothespins out here and can hold that paper down just till it really catches. Not too bad. Looks like I have a little bit more room in the back than I do in the front. So I guess I didn't get it in quite as even as I thought I was getting it. But that's okay because we have a big pocket that's going in the back here. So we can just use a little bit more of that room in there, but it should be good. All right. The next thing that we're going to do real quickly is let's take this paper. Just edge the sides of this paper with a vintage photo. I love this paper. One of my favorites. So what I'm going to try to do is to match up on the top and the bottom. Where's my pencil? I know you're sitting out there telling me and yelling at me where my pencil is. Oh, I'll get it later, I guess. I just wanted to erase that line right there. So I'm going to take and match this up so that it matches up with the green paper, and we'll make it so it matches on the ends, and if it's matching down here, it should be matching up there as well because they're exactly the same size. All right. And then on the front cover, I decided that I wanted to do something not quite so heavy on the front because it's going to be such a big book. And even to kind of give it the opportunity to display some pictures, or if this is going to be a legacy book, it can be a family photo. So really the mats that you put on the front can be any size or any shape or frame that you'd like to make it. Doesn't have to be the same size as what I made on my photo or on my pages. Okay. All right. I'll get this down. I love the bees and the butterflies on this paper. Well, I like bees and butterflies in almost any paper, as long as it's not too frou-frou-y. I'm not a lot of lace and kind of diamonds and jewel kind of person. I'm like something that's a little bit more of a vintage type look to it. So what we're going to do when I get back, and I'm going to finish up here for this evening, but I'm going to continue this video with a couple other mats and things we're going to put on here, but I've got some things I've got to do this evening yet, so I am going to finish this off tomorrow. And so you'll probably see a difference in the light changes, but I'll see you in a little bit tomorrow. So good night for now, and I'll see you later. Bye. Hi crafters, welcome back. Or I should say more welcome back to me, because I haven't, it's been overnight and it's the next day. So we're going to get going, and we're going to do this front cover, and then we'll see how much time we've got left. We'll probably do the back cover as well. But pull out your ephemera and your chipboard. We've got to pull out a piece from there, and you're going to need this piece with the pear, and I took one of the stickers and put it on a piece of cardstock. And what we're going to do is work on putting our photo mats in on the cover. So we've got this right here. Now this again is a pocket, and so that goes there. This little booklet here, sideways or however you want to do it, I made this at the very end, so we're not going to make all of these now. We're going to put in really just our photo mats, and see I have another photo mat right here that goes in. And you can make bigger ones, smaller ones, just really depending upon what you want to do for your photo mats for your book. So sometimes it's best to leave some of those photo mats to the very end so that you can use up your scraps. So what we're going to do here is this piece of cream cardstock is from is a Country Craft Creations artisan cardstock, and I believe it's like a 3x4. Let me just measure real quick. 3.5 by 4.5. And normally what I do with that is then I make that about 1/8 of an inch larger all the way around, and glue that down to my mat. So whatever you like. Some people like 1/4 of an inch, some people like a 1/16. So just do it to your liking and what works best for you. Some of the photo mats aren't perfectly sized in the sense that they're a 3x4, 5x7, because when putting photos into the album, a lot of times they ended up getting cut down a little bit because there's so much extra space on the photo itself. So we're going to, that one's going to go right there. And again, you can change this too. You could do one here, and then do a long piece down this side where you could put a spot where you could journal, or you could make it a large and just do 3 small photo mats down this side. Whatever you would really like to do, and depends upon how you like to put your albums together. Now this one is 5x7, I believe. Yes, 5x7, and then again, I just made the mat underneath here because I liked that it brought it out a little bit from the background because it's so busy. So we're going to put that down. And I'm not inking around the edges of any of these because of the color. They don't need to be vintage photo on the side. The core is a fine color. The only thing that I did do some vintage photo around is the sticker that I have on the navy blue cardstock that I'm going to put down on this page. I did use vintage photo around the edge of that, and I am going to also take and do my vintage photo around the edge of my chipboard piece. Didn't do that yet. So first off, what we're going to do is I want to see how I can put these into this book. And I think that looks good. And then we're going to put this up here, and what I'm leaving that partially open so that you can be tucked under. And then we're going to use this as a stopper here. And then we'll leave this open so we can tuck into that photo mat. So let's get that down. And what you're going to want to do is just glue around the edges, the 3 edges, so that you leave that open like a pocket. And as long as you don't put anything too significant in that pocket, you know, too big or too large, you should be very good. So let's put this one down. Just gonna make sure that's, yeah. And this one I'm actually going to put all the way down because I'm not going to do any tucks on this one. And you can if you want to. It's just really my preference on this one. I decided not to. All right. Then let's grab our, I'm going to use a little vintage photo around this just so it doesn't look quite so so tan, or I don't know. I just like the way it looks better. And my little piece came out of this. So what we're going to do is when we put this down, I'm just going to glue the top half of this so that it leaves it open for putting something underneath. And that should be good. And I actually remembered this time to put our glitter glue on my sticker piece. I frequently forget to do that. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to take one of my little black, forgot to put my glue down. I'm going to put one of these right into this so that that fills that up. And that looks good. So then, the next thing that I want to do is I want to fussy cut this out. And basically what I did with this, what worked really well for me, was I put it to the bottom of a straight piece of cardstock and then cut down. And what I then did was took my stub from my We Are Memories Keepers, and I just punched, I put that in here and I punched that out. Well, that one's a little off, but I'll just have to make sure I get it in the middle. Somebody's dog is barking out there. I don't think it's ours. And if it's not perfect, it's, you know, I guess just have to kind of live with it. This one, I have to say, it probably didn't turn out as good as my other one did, but it still gave me that stub look. I probably should have left a little bit more around the outside of that, but you know, it's nobody's going to notice it but me. So, or maybe you. I'm going to cut this down a little bit too. I want to make this a little bit of a narrower trim on here. I think that'll look a little better. Alrighty. And then what we're going to do with this is we're just going to take and glue down the bottom of this sticker and center it on our photo mat. And that'll be a little stop or something nice in here. Another thing is that you can always take, and you could always put a 3x4 photo mat right down here as well if you didn't want to do any tucks on there, but there's a million things that you can do. Or you could do something more more with your chipboards or your stickers, something that you might want to do. A lot of times I do, the only reason why I'm doing some of this now is because this is exactly what I had done in the other one, and I wanted to match that or make that similar because I like the way that turned out. But remember, when you're done, you can go back with all your ephemera and your different pieces, cut aparts and things, and make some different mats or do something different. So basically, that really is our cover done. And maybe the other thing is if you have a nice ribbon or something, maybe a ribbon would be nice on the front, putting some other kinds of jewels or things down too. I'm just not a big jewel person. So that is our front inside cover is done. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the back inside cover, and what this is, I wanted to do this first because thought it would make it a little bit easier. What we're actually going to be working on is I'm going to cut a full piece of this purple patterned paper, and that'll be 9 7/8 by 9 7/8. And the reason why I did that is because I felt that it really just worked out well and covered well inside this pocket. So, and then we'll take this and mat this little frame through here. Maybe we'll get something to put in there, but basically I have a couple magnets. I have some very small magnets, so I put 3 of them across there just to hold it because I wanted to make sure that if this pocket got full, because it's a expanding pocket, that there'd be enough room. So I'm going to get my materials for these items, and then we will get started on that in just a minute. Alrighty. All right, so let's get started on the back cover. What I did is I cut out a piece of the navy cardstock. This is 12 inches by 8 1/4. And then I scored a 1/2 inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side 3 times. So I just put it right into my scoreboard and scored down all of those. And this is going to help to give us a gusset for our pocket so we can put more items into that pocket. And there is about 3 1/4 inches, 3 3/4 inches left over on this other piece. So I'm going to hold on to this because we're going to work on using this for our cover, I think, or the flap for the pocket. So we're going to go in here and just going to work on all those score lines. Boy, I didn't do a very good job of that one. There we go. All right, so I want to get our bone folder here. I like to get those scores in there nice and tight. Now that one is going to go to the inside, and then this is going to the inside as well, because this is what we are going to glue down to the inside to make our pocket. Same thing on this side. So we have a little bit of expansion here. So what our pocket ends up, the size ends up being is 9 inches by 8 1/4. So what we're going to do for our patterned paper, we're going to cut it at 8 7/8 by that's 8 1/4, so 8 1/4 8 1/8. So we're going to do 8 1/8 for that pattern paper to cover this part of the pocket. And what we're going to do then is we're also going to glue this down, and we'll glue the very bottom insides of this together as well. The only other thing that I would like to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to miter just the inside corner. All right. We're all set on that. We've got this set. Then what the next thing that I want to do is I want to cut this appropriately, because we're actually going to do a flap, and it'll be on the base of our book, so then our pattern paper will cover the score of it. So our width-wise, we are 8 and, sorry, it is, oh, it was 9, so it's 9. I'm sorry. Boy, oh boy. This is 12 inches, so I need to cut off 3 inches. So I'm going to just do this a little backwards here with my small cutter. So leave that. That'll make a good, you can use that for a small mat. Save those pieces of paper. Oops. So I just want to make sure that I cut this properly. So that my cover is going to, that's perfect. So then what we're going to do is take this, and we are going to, you know what, I just like scoring on this side better. I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch for the flap, and then I'm going to go over another 1/4 inch because I want to give it a little bit of a gusset. All right. The other thing that I did with this pocket is I did round the corners on that, and you can use your We Are Memory Keepers corner rounder, or if you have a different corner rounder, I happen to really like this one. This one is by Kodamaru Pro. I bought it on Amazon. I was just looking to try out a different corner rounder, and this has a small, medium, or large corner rounder on it, and I happen to like the medium size the best, so I'm going to round that, and we're going to fold this, and then we'll get this down so then we can get our pattern paper down as well. I can't believe how fast this week is going. Is anybody else's week just roaring along for you, or is it not so much because you're stuck in the house? I find that this week is just, my days are zooming by. This morning I was working, and it's like all of a sudden my a reminder went off for lunchtime, and it was 12 o'clock, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I got to 12 o'clock today. And I'm going to miter these edges as well, probably more out of habit. It doesn't matter if you do or you don't. It's not that critical. But we are going to take this and get your book, and we're going to end up gluing this down to the top, and then we'll put our pattern paper over that so so that we don't have to cover it with another piece of paper, that it's all covered with the one piece. So, and I'm going to bring this in from the outside of the book just by about 1/8 of an inch. And this I'm going to go pretty close to the top because I want to be able to line that paper up with, oh, well, that'll help if it would stick. I want to line so that that paper, the pattern paper, lines up with the rest of the spine paper. Not sure why this wants to come up on me, but it is. All right. Once you have that in there, wipe that up a little bit, and you have a little bit, you can see there is, want to move that a little bit up, a little bit more so that it's even. I think we have it now. It's a little bit better. It's amazing how 1/8 of an inch or even 1/16 of an inch can put something off. So we're going to do that. And then the next thing that we're going to add into here is our matting paper. And what we're going to do with that is match that up. It looks really, really good. And again, you know, when you're matting the back covers, you don't have to do a whole sheet of the pattern paper if you don't want to. You would just have to get something to mat in here and something that would work going down this side as well. So for me, I just thought it was easier. It lined the inside of the pocket, and I felt that it looked nice on the page. So if you want to save paper, you can piece those together and save on a little bit of paper or your pattern. And this actually is from the Patterns and Solids papers, so it is not out of the Fruit and Flora paper. You know what? I wanted to erase this pencil mark yesterday. Just realized that I know where my pencil is now. One of the things too that I wanted to do with this album is it has many different colors in it, but the colors that I liked best were bringing out the purples or the plums with the green. I love the green. And then I added in some of the more yellowish tones or red tones. I thought the one paper that was pretty stark, it's pretty deep, not red per se, but more of a peachy color, peachy red. I thought it was going to be such a drastic paper, but I have to tell you, it's really ended up being one of my favorites in doing this album, that it really turned out. Then we want to make sure that where we're putting this is that it doesn't get in the too much in the way of the hinge or the spine. You can see how that makes a seamless all the way through. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put paper here, and I did put a strip of paper along here. I'm not going to do it this time because I think I just did not like the way that the paper didn't stay very well. So I'm going to leave it without putting that paper on there this time. So what you want to do is get your pocket, and we are going to get this all set, and it's going all the way to the bottom. And I just want to make sure that, yes, this is long enough, and I want to make sure that I'm fitting it underneath everything, making sure that I didn't make any of this too large. Looks like it's going to be pretty good. So what I'm going to do is, just to start off by making this a little bit easier, I'm going to start by sticking those pieces together in there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I did that. This is no one's ever going to see it, but this is my mitered end. So I want to stick these together down here. I'm sorry. So make sure you don't use your mitered end, that you are using the square end to that. Because otherwise you're going to have happen what I just did. Get out your handy dandy, I was going to say paper clips, but it's clothespins. And I'm going to put that on so that they get stuck together. And while that gets a little bit more glued on, what I'm going to do is work on getting the magnets on this. And I took 3 of these magnets. I'm sure it was overkill, but one of the things that I don't like is that if I put a strong magnet in the middle, sometimes I find like these flaps start curling up a little bit. So if you're going to use just 2, or if you have a stronger one, it could be fine in the middle. But I would prefer to at least have 2. But because these were smaller, I just wanted to make sure that, yes, I know it was overkill, but I still am going to do it. I'm sometimes afraid that these, with any kind of pressure, that the smaller ones aren't going to hold as well. So I want to see. So I think we'll be good if we and this has some sticky on the back. I do like to put my glue on the back of those just so that they don't come off. And it's always important, I find, if I'm going to cover this with paper, is to make sure that this is back far enough from that, so when I cover the paper, that it's not sticking up on the end of this flap. So we're going to get these on there and we'll be good to go. Hope you can see that. I'm having such a tough time here. I'm trying to get myself more in screen for you. So again, I apologize if my head's in the way or if I am off camera. I'm so sorry. Trying to do better with that and trying to place my camera so that it is easier to see. So then we have enough clearance here and enough clearance on the side so that we, I forgot to put our glitter glue on those, but that's fine. I'm not going to worry about that. See, I get talking and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. All right, then what I'm going to do is take the negative ones and we will, if I can get these out, put those on the flap while we're getting the rest of this down. And then once that's done, we can put the rest of the magnets onto the pocket. Alrighty, that works. Okay, so this I'm sure is perfectly dry, and we are going to get this put down. So we're going to put glue along this edge and this edge, and then along the bottom. And we are going to put this so that it's pretty aligned with the bottom of the book, so that the paper, so what you see basically is navy blue going on to navy blue. And I'm going to move this over just a little bit. And then we'll have the flap coming down like that. So, and we have the hinge or the flap in through there. What we're going to do is cover this with our patterned paper. And our patterned paper for that, we're going to cut that piece 8 7/8 by 8 1/8. So we used this piece of patterned paper. And what you want to do is take a look at it and see how you, there's really no up or down to this paper. It might look like it, like these are one way, and these are another way, but then this is upside down if I go this way. I tend to like it with the strawberries going up, so I'm going to cut it this direction. And this is out of your patterned paper. And we're going to cut this 8 7/8 by, hold on, I almost cut that wrong. Yes, I'm right, 8 7/8. My, oh my. So we're going to do 8 7/8. And we save that, put that in our save bin. And this is going to be 8 1/8. Alrighty. So let's mat that, or match that up, dry fit it. Looks pretty good. So before we put this down though, what I want to do is to put the magnets down so that it gets covered over by the paper. And then be sure when you're putting this down that you're making sure that your gusset is where it needs to be as well, so that you have that 1/4 of an inch standing up. Oops, come on. Come on, little magnets. There we go. This one stays. This one isn't. Sorry. And this one didn't either, so... How hard is that? Now this is okay, this will be fine, but I probably should have tried to get it down a little bit further so that it's not going too high. This should be fine though. So the next thing that we're going to do is take our vintage photo. And put that around the edges. Get our glue. And it's also this paper itself too. I picked the lighter color because there's a lot of bolder colors that are on the other pages. So because when I did this originally, I did it going page by page, front to back. And I like to do that when I'm creating to start with, because I want to make sure that I have a story of color as I go through. And I felt this color was a little bit better than the brighter color, even though actually the brighter color is more my favorite. But I thought this worked well. And then what I also did on here is I did use one of the border strips. I'm going to actually use this border strip. It's a little bit different than the one that I originally used. So choose which border strip that you like best. And this was all in one, and I like the fact that it was, I like that it was a fuller or wider strip. See how I measure? That's how I usually measure. And then I measure it with the, this is what I really do most of the time, is I do a pencil mark, and then I cut usually right inside it, and it usually gives me the correct measurement that I need. So I cut that strip down. I find that so frequently I don't get, well, let's see, I was a little bit off on that one, but it'll be fine. One of the things that I find is because so many of the measuring tools, it's not like you consistently, it doesn't have a stop on how it's measured. So if you're just a hair off here or there, it can cause the paper not to match perfectly. So I find that frequently doing my pencil line works a little bit better for me, most often. This time it looks a little bit off, but no bother, because it's 1/16 of a 1/16 off. And then you're going to pull out your ephemera, and what I did here was the larger photo frame. This went down here, and what I did is I backed this with navy blue cardstock, and because I wanted to have oh, it goes this way, sorry. I wanted to have something solid behind there for when I put that down. So this measures, this piece of ephemera measures let's see, 3.5 by 5. So we're just going to increase that by 1/8 of an inch when we cut out on our paper. So I'm going to use this leftover navy blue cardstock. So it was, I should have written that down because I never remember. So 3.5 by 5, right? It's that short-term memory is not so good when you get older. Now, I can remember things from a million years ago, but the short-term memory is what really challenges me. All right, so I am going to cut this on my smaller cutter, and that's not the way I want to go. I want to do 3.5 by 5, so we're going to do 5. Oh, that's 3.5 by 5 1/8. So I'm going to do 5 1/8. Cut that off, and then I'm going to do, it was 3 1/2, so we need to go 3 5/8. All right, let's see if I did that right. Yep, looks pretty good. Alrighty, so, oh, I wanted to distress around here, or use a vintage photo, I should say. And then I'm not going to glue across the top. I'm only going to glue along these sides. And I'm even going to leave the majority of this open down here as well, because just in case it's a longer photo or frame. So this just gives me a little bit of a leeway depending upon what I'm going to put in here. I haven't decided if I was going to glue something directly down or if I was going to slip a photo in there. What did I do with that? There we go. So now we have room to slip right into here, and we've given ourselves a little bit more room. I shouldn't have pulled that out so soon, to be able to slide something in there. Or if you want to, you could cut out a picture and just fit it right in there, and you can glue everything down. It'll work just fine. So we're going to put this onto our pocket back here. And did I leave that open? Yes, actually what I ended up doing is I left this side open in case I wanted to put a tag or something in there. So all these little tucks, I like to have them just in case there's a piece of ephemera or something that I want to put into the back or tuck it in there, or something that I find is real cute. So we're going to leave this part open, but it'll just be something narrow or thin. You can't put anything real big in there. So now that we have this done, we're going to go ahead and cut our paper for this flap. And the paper that I used for this, I know I had some pieces that were left over, but what I'm going to do is end up cutting this lengthwise down, and I will put part of it in here and part of it on the outside. So, and our pocket was 8 1/4. So we are going to cut this widthwise, the pocket was 9. It was 9 across, 9 inches across. Let me make sure. Yes, 9 inches across. So we're going to cut this 8 7/8 across, and to try to get the most out of that, I'm going to cut it this direction, and 8 7/8. I know I'm bulging a little bit here, so I just will compensate for that by, as I put that down, and we'll take and put that away. And then the width of our pocket, meaning this part, I believe it was 3 3/4, but it's not, it's 3 inches now. So we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. I'm sorry, 2 7/8 for each of them. So get this down. And what I'm going to do is, just to make sure that I'm cutting everything that I need to cut the right way, I'm going to, once I cut one, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to match it up on our cover just to make sure I didn't mess up on my measuring. And that'll work. And we're going to round those edges. So I'm going to cut one more that is 2 7/8. And I might, no, I think because it's going to be on the inside, so I'm just going to carry this down. So 2 7/8. And then be careful when you put your flap on the outside and inside that it's going the right direction that you want it to go. And then take your paper and save that into your large paper bin. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put this one on the outside, and I'm going to take and put this one on the inside. And like I said, I'm going to leave that navy blue there for now, just to make sure that it just didn't fit well. It didn't stay down well. So I want to make sure that it looks good. So let's round. This is going to be like, I almost did it wrong. So we want to have the top of this rounded, and the medium width we're going to round. And then this one is going to be, the bottom is going to be rounded. Really like this little punch. It works well, and then it catches all your little ends in there. Okay, so then take your vintage photo and edge your papers. It's funny, I have to laugh at myself. I always watch my videos afterwards to make sure I didn't do anything too dastardly wrong. And I always laugh at myself when I say the word papers, because I say it really funny, I think. Papers. It sounds like so, yes, it's Midwestern, I guess. But, so sometimes I think I shouldn't use that word because it just doesn't sound very good. But, all right, let's match that up. We're all set to glue that down. So this one I did a little bit more of the cutting and process with you. If you have an opinion, I'd love to hear it. Whether you like this a little bit better. I know I can't do this with everything because it just makes it too long and too difficult, and I don't know, I don't want somebody getting so bored with the tutorials that they're not happy. So, but let me know if this was good for you, or if you liked it better where it's all cut out ahead of time and edged ahead of time, and you like it a little bit quicker. So we're going to put that down there. I think that looks really nice. Yeah. And then also we're going to add a piece of ephemera on this pocket as well, or not ephemera so much as it's chipboard element. All right, we got a little bee right there too. I love the bees. So that is our back pocket. We're going to get a chipboard element, and that one that we're going to be putting there says it's called My Friend, and that is one of the ones that are that dual level. So we're going to, there we go. So we're going to pop out that center, and we're going to get that through the center, and I'm going to vintage photo this around. Do the same thing on this, just because we'll be able to see the edges. And I'm going to pop this out because we're going to put our little black pieces in there. So I'm going to put this down here and maybe help me with my center a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's right about here. Do you like that? That's called new math or new measuring. All right. It looks pretty good and pretty level. Or are you screaming at me out there saying, no, it's not straight? I think that works. And then let's get a little bit of our, I'm going to get a little bit of my puffy tape. And I'm actually going to, see, I remembered a little bit. Put that down onto the back of there. And we're going to put that right into the center of that. Press that down. And that just is a little bit raised up. It's not raised up too far. Then let's put a dab of glue in here and a dab of glue in here. And we'll get our, I'm going to need to get some more of these small black ones. Don't have many of them left. Of course, I could move to the other colors. I just really like the black. So those are in there. You can see we've got that all set. This is all set to go. So our front and back covers are done. And this is the back of that. This will be done, again, like we said, at the end, because I don't want to smash all the flowers. So what we're going to do then, the next time we get back together, we're going to start on page 1 or hinge 1, which is page 1 and 2, and then we'll see how much time it takes. If there's some simple pages, I'll do more than 1 or 2 pages at a time, but I just don't want the videos again to be too long. So I hope that you like how it turned out. I think we're doing great. And I will see you real soon. Take care.